So he joins us on Thursdays Talk Hoops. This will be his final appearance of the season, as the hoop season, the end of it, appears to be upon us. Do you think tonight is the final night of the NBA season, Coach?
Well, if Tyrese Halliburton is not 100%, then I do think it's over. I think OKC is the better team. They're healthy, and hopefully Tyrese Halliburton will be healthy tonight, can overcome that right calf injury. So we'll see, though.
If he is healthy, I mean, maybe they have a chance. Are you surprised that they've won 2 games in this series? Because
Oh,
I think a
no.
lot of people thought this series was going to be just a runaway whitewash for OKC.
No, I hear an echo. Can you guys hear the echo?
I do not.
No, so I'm good. So here's what I think. Rick Carlisle's done a tremendous job of actually altering his style from what he was doing in Dallas and adapting a new style to the personnel that he has in Indiana. And the Pacers are playing to that style great. Can you guys still hear me? Because I just lost you guys.
Oh, interesting. I don't know what's happening,
Yeah.
but we hear you fine.
Yeah, we hear you
and
Okay,
great,
so
Coach.
I'll just keep talking.
It's
So I
very
think Rick
difficult to do
Carlisle
what
has
he's
done a
doing, by the
tremendous
way.
job, a tremendous job of putting in a whole new system of pressing full court, which no NBA team does, playing a much more up-tempo style and pressuring everywhere on defense and really accelerating their offense. Not so much set plays, not so much slowing things down and getting it to the big guys. So I think he's done a masterful job of that.
Are
And
you
that's
able
why
to hear me?
I think it's you know, 3-2. And if Tyrese Halliburton was healthy, they might tie it up and get it back to OKC.
I just want to make sure you're able to hear me, Coach. Are you able to
I
hear me
can hear
talk?
you guys fine.
Okay. And you're still getting an echo? Because it's very, people don't realize how difficult it is to do a show if you're hearing the sound twice or if you're not hearing yourself talk. So you're able to hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you all right. So
All right.
I hope
We don't know if
that
you can
was
hear
clear.
Solana, but that's not very important. You know, his name is on the show now. That's like being elevated to assistant head coach, I think, or like how do you reward someone? Solana had been the producer of the show for 6 years, and it was the Hochman and Crowder show, and we wanted to reward him because he's got as much voice on the show as we do. So we have renamed the show Hochman, Crowder, and Solana. What's the equivalency on a coaching staff?
Well, it's like moving an assistant coach up to associate head coach. And that's quite an honor, and it normally means he's your number one guy. The only thing is a lot of staffs have more than one associate head coach. So, yeah, but I think, hey, congratulations, Solana, on this new Hochman Crowder Solana show. I see on my video it says the Coach L show for this next 20 to 30 minutes. So I'm happy. You guys have been wonderful. And since this is my last show with you guys, I want to thank you. It's been a great experience. And I'd love to come back next season, starting with the NBA and moving on into the college season.
Yep, you will be. That is the plan. I will tell you that every time we finish our segment with you, the texts roll in going, I could listen to that guy all day long. And I feel the same way because we're able to talk about not just basketball, but everything with you. But I feel like you get the show. Like I always aspire for this show to be an easy listen. So you get into the car. If you've got 20 minutes to give us during the day, or 4 hours to give us, I always aspire for it to be just an easy listen. And I think you fit that characterization perfectly. I find you to be an easy listen, which I think rolls with the tenor of the show. So
yeah, well, Hawk, I wish I felt that way about you.
You're very difficult and grating, Hawk. And I've heard that from my wife many times.
When someone tells me I don't like ham, I mean, come on.
You've never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
See, so how can you get on me for not eating peanut butter and jelly when you ordered a ham and cheese sandwich with mayo on rye? Come on, didn't you ever go to New York and get yourself A ham and cheese? Come
No, I
on.
mean, you get maybe like a pastrami sandwich, but I just a ham like, if you go to someone's Christmas dinner and they've got that big honking ham
No, I
on
don't
like
like
a
that.
yeah, that stuff is
No,
I
gross,
I
love
don't
man.
that.
like that. I don't like a thick cut of ham. My wife
Yeah.
makes me a ham and cheese sandwich on a fairly regular basis. I always love the rye bread with mayo, but it has to be very thinly sliced, almost like the ham melts in your mouth.
You toast the rye bread. This is very important to me.
I don't because we buy fresh rye bread right out of the
Mm.
oven at Publix. We've got a great bakery at Publix near my house, and I love that fresh bread.
You ever have the popcorn chicken at Publix?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's at least once a week.
right? That stuff is just so easy to eat. Talk about an easy listen. That's an easy meal, man. That popcorn
Have you
chicken.
ever had the lasagna where you just
No,
pop
at
it in the
Publix?
oven? Lasagna is terrific. Like, if
Huh.
you haven't had lasagna, you pop it in the microwave for 3 minutes, and I think it's 3 minutes, might be 5, whatever, and but it's a great taste and a very easy dinner to fix.
Um, Getting back to the game tonight, coach.
Yeah.
It's a win or go home game for Indiana. When you're coaching, do you play up the possible finality of a game like this? Do you hammer home that this game is more important than any other one you've played this season because literally the season is over if we don't win? Or do you go out of your way to do the opposite and try to make the team think of it as just another game?
Well, I think the first thing is you gotta remember that it's one game, and the focus has to be stay in the present. Stay with the first possession, win the jump ball, get out in front. You don't want to you don't want to look in the past. You don't want to worry about your injuries or anything like that. And you don't want to move to the future saying, "Oh, guys, we gotta win this so that we can get to game 7." You really got to look at it as a coach, whether you're with the Pacers or OKC, and say, "Let's just play a great game tonight. Play our best basketball and let the chips fall where they may." And we would do that at Miami throughout my career of just saying, "Look, I know we have Duke tonight. Everybody's excited. The fans make it like it's bigger than all the other games or Carolina." And you just say as a coach, "No, let's just play a great game tonight."
Coach, have you enjoyed the NBA Finals? I know you love basketball. I know that you were right about the Indiana Pacers on this show. And I apologized to you last week because, Hawk, you were off last week. I told Coach L when he told us he thinks this series would go 6 or 7, that if you go back on the video, I almost roll my eyes like, oh, okay.
He was
Well,
one of
what?
the few. I don't think we had heard. I think I remember asking him the question saying, I haven't heard one expert
Right.
suggest that Indiana has a chance. And he
And
was the only guy who was like, no, 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 don't count them out.
yeah, yeah, and but there's a lot of I guess casual NBA fans or just NBA fans, coach, who are saying there's no superstar in the finals. When you get to this level, you want to watch LeBron, Steph Curry, you want to watch the greats of the game at the highest possible level. But I think the games have been fun from just a basketball standpoint. They've been competitive. Have you enjoyed the NBA finals?
First of all, I've loved the NBA Finals. I love these two teams. I love the way they play. What I will say is if I were Rick Carlisle tonight, especially with Tyrese Halliburton hurt, I they haven't really zoned much, because they're such a pressing team. And this happened to my high school coach my senior year in high school. We played in the New York City semifinals, and we were a pressing team. And I was sick, and we ended up pressing for 32 minutes like we always did, and we ended up losing the ball game. And afterwards, when I talked to him, he said, I debated about whether we should go zone because you weren't 100%. The other team was not a great outside shooting team. I think if I'm Rick Carlisle, that has to be running through his mind that maybe a slight adjustment in our defense when Halliburton is in. We can pressure and get after them when Halliburton's sitting. But you probably can't win the game without him. And if he's not 100%, you got to figure out a way to save him. And probably the best way is at the defensive end of the floor.
Coach, before we run out of time, there is seemingly some ramped up interest between the Heat and Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant and several teams, the Heat being one of them. We had a conversation earlier this week about the Heat. I think everyone agrees Bam Adebayo isn't going anywhere. What if you had to give up, and correct me if I'm phrasing the question wrong, Solana, but what if you had to give up, in addition to draft picks and other players for the Heat, what if you ended up having to give up Andrew Wiggins and Tyler Herro? So you're giving up two scorers, but you're bringing Kevin Durant. Solana said for him, that's a deal breaker. If you have to give up Tyler Herro, it's a deal breaker for him. Crowder and I were both along the lines of, hey, if it means bringing in KD, even at advanced age of 36, 37, I feel more comfortable trying to find another scorer than I do trying to find another guy who's like KD, because no one's like him. So I'm just curious what you think about if you had to give up all your scorers essentially to get him.
Yeah, Hawk, I think you said it. He's 36 years old. KD is not a youngster anymore. And okay, you give up Wiggins. Okay, that's one thing, not a problem. But Tyler Herro, how old is he?
25.
Yeah, he's only 25 years old. He's got 10 good years ahead of him. I don't know in the long term if it makes a lot of sense unless you think that Kevin Durant puts you over the top to win a championship. And quite frankly, I don't think that's a possibility. At this stage of his career, he probably should not be your main go-to guy. I mean, it's like LeBron. Is LeBron going to lead the Lakers to a championship? I don't think if he's
It's got
your
to be.
your
Yeah.
number one go-to guy, they got Doncic and they didn't even advance in the playoffs. Phoenix didn't even make the playoffs. So I'd question. Now, I'm not questioning Kevin Durant's ability. Kevin Durant is a phenomenal offensive player, maybe one of the greatest of all time. But to bring him in at this late stage of his career and expect him to carry a major load offensively, okay, he might be able to do that, but what is he going to do defensively? At his age, they start to slow down and they give up some things at the defensive end of the floor. So I don't know what the Heat are thinking, but to give up a 25-year-old all-star to get a 36-year-old all-star,
You'd have a tough time doing that.
I would, because I just think you're constantly building. Right? You're never satisfied. You're constantly trying to improve. But do you improve if Kevin Durant comes in, he gets off to a great start, and then he gets hurt? Why? Because older guys get hurt more often than the younger guys. Younger guys, even if they get hurt, they have time to recover. So it's a gamble either way. But if you're trying to win a championship, you got to have some of the best players in the NBA. And this playoff, I think, is letting us know that SGA is going to be around a long time. And I think Tyrese Halliburton is moving right in that direction.
Hey, Coach, sticking with the Miami Heat for a second, yesterday was the 12-year anniversary of Ray Allen's The Shot, Game 6, 2013 NBA Finals, rebound Bosch, back out to Allen, his three-pointer bang. Do you have a favorite? That's my favorite basketball moment. Do you have a favorite basketball moment? One play, it resonates with you. Like you see the replay and it kind of transports you back to that time, wherever you were, where you saw it, if you were there on TV. Do you have a one favorite? Could be NCAA, it could be the NBA. One favorite basketball moment.
Yeah, I would say when our Miami team beat Texas and went to the Final Four, it wasn't one play, but if I had to pick a play, it was when Wooga Poplar passed the ball off of the Texas player's butt, stepped in bounds, got it, and
Yes.
laid it in. We were down 13 points at that time, and that play completely shifted the momentum in Miami's favor, and we ended up going from down 13 to tying the game and then moving ahead and winning 88-81 to advance to the Final Four. So if that's the one type of play, it wasn't a game-winning last-second shot, but it was big.
Can you recall this? Can you confirm or deny? I remember during that run, we would have Joe Zagacki on with us all the time. And I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, there was a team dinner at maybe Texas de Brazil, like a nice Brazilian steakhouse.
Yeah.
And Wooga Poplar left the dinner and went to Cinnabon instead
Yeah.
because he didn't want the steak. Am I correct in remembering that?
That was our very first game in Albany, New York, where there's not a lot of high-level restaurants or first-class five-star restaurants. So we did it at the Brazilian steakhouse, and Wooga didn't like it, and so he just left. But that's the funny thing about players. You think you're taking them to some great restaurant, and they'll enjoy the heck out of it, and they say, "Nah, I'd rather go to McDonald's."
Yeah, that's
So,
funny. See, a lot of people remember particular plays. That's what I remember from the
yeah.
Final Four run because I'm fixated on food all the time. And I remember Joe telling us Wooga Poplar left to go to Cinnabon, which is it's a gutsy move, but I admire it.
Well, the night before we played Texas, I got it. We had a team meeting, and as soon as the team meeting ended, like 2 minutes later, my phone rang, and it was Norshad Omir. And Norshad says, "Coach, we're stuck in the elevator."
Yeah.
And I
Remember
said,
that.
"You're stuck in it."
That
He said-
story we all remember because Joe Zagaki's told it on the air 752 times.
Well, because it's a great story.
It is.
Great
I
story.
said, "Who's stuck on the elevator?" He said, "All of us." They had 12 guys stuck in the elevator. I think that we had to get the firemen to come over and get them out. It took them an hour. And then the
That's
next
so
night,
great.
when we're down 13 at the timeout, I said to him, "Hey, you remember how crowded it was in the elevator last night?" And they looked at me like, "Coach, you're crazy. What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, that's how we have to crowd the 3-second lane. Don't let Texas get to the basket. Pack
That's
it
funny.
in." And that's a true story.
That's funny. Jim Larrañaga, we appreciate all your time this season. And we may, during the summer, have to call you if there's a big maneuver, obviously, with the Heat or in the NBA. We may have to bring you in as an expert. Do you spend the summers down here in South Florida, or do you go
Sure
somewhere
do.
a little more
No,
temperate?
I'll be here. And you know, Hawk, I was in Hilton Head, but I brought my laptop with me, and I was on the radio show last week while you were sunning in South Jersey.
Yeah, having the time of my life. All right, Coach L, we love you, and we will talk to you sporadically, and then we'll kick it up again when basketball season rolls around next year.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.